Hello and welcome to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay and today I'm going to be looking at the Rebel Trooper basic builds. I've already done Luke, Darth Vader, Stormtroopers. We're now up to the Rebel Troopers. If you want to check out Luke, I will put up a thingy there. Look at it. hilarious. But yeah, we're going to do some basic builds. It's quite similar to the Stormtroopers. Most of the upgrades in terms of gear and that kind of thing are the same. And there's a lot of the same principles, but I thought, we'll do it anyway and we'll tint it. We'll do it, with Rebel Trooper in mind. The Rebel Troopers are 40 points as opposed to the Stormtroopers, which are 44. They can take a heavy personnel, a normal infantry upgrade, the gear upgrade, and the grenade upgrade. The interesting thing about the Rebels mainly are the black attack dice, both on the blaster rifle and unarmed. They get a defensive surge to a block. You get 4 in a unit, that's pretty standard at this point. They've got 1 wound each, 1 courage. They have white defense dice, so not quite as good as the Stormtroopers in terms of defending. Movement 2. And an interesting and key part of this is the keyword nimble. After defending, if you spend 1 or more dodge token, you gain another dodge token. So you can basically defend in 1 turn, get another, defend, use your dodge, get another dodge for the next attack. It's pretty good, will keep you mostly, won't keep you alive indefinitely, but it will help you stay alive. And for 40 points, that's a pretty tough little cookie to crack. All around, I like the Rebel Troopers. I like the extra attack. They're a bit weak on defense, but if you get them in cover and you've got a dodge token, pretty powerful, pretty alright. So let's look at all the upgrades they can take. Of course, below me, they've got the grappling hooks, targeting scopes, both kinds of grenades. I think one of the grenades comes only with the individual pack. Don't quote me on that, I'm not sure which. You can take a normal Rebel Trooper upgrade, and then you can take the Z6 Trooper and the MPL 57 Ion Trooper. Now, I don't like the MPL, and we'll get onto why when I do have a build with it in. But on average, it's an exhaustible card. I do like Ion 1, which if you hit, if you cause a wound basically with Ion Weapon, you get 1 Ion token. Well, the number of Ion tokens it says in this case it would be 1. That stops them from taking an action, the amount of Ion tokens it has. So it sounds good, but I don't like that fact that it's exhausted. Was the Z6 Trooper, 6 white dice, that's pretty much a decked out Stormtrooper's worth of shooting there, so I do like that one. And that is basically the first build. Well, that's not it, but this is the first build. I like taking the extra trooper. I think you could have 4 units of 5, 200 points. That's cheap as chips, really, as it is. That would give you enough, give you a chunk of objective control. You need your infantry troopers to claim objectives pretty much. You get 5 black attack dice with that, just that as a build. You've got your, you need to dodge most turns, but if you do dodge, that nimble will keep you alive a chunk. It does like a little bit of versatility. Like, this is a unit that doesn't, apart from being cheap fodder for a unit, doesn't really, cheap fodder for like an objective, doesn't really do too much, but I think we can change that quite easily. So that's 50 points. Build number 2, 72 points. Adding that Z6 Trooper, the Z6 Trooper, very interesting, 6 white dice. Now, on average, that's pretty decent. You're fishing for a crit if you fire into cover, but I think I like it. I think it's not exhausted. It's 22 points, so it's pretty much the cost of, say, 2 troopers, but you get 6 white dice instead of like an extra 2 black dice. And it does technically work out better in most situations in terms of trying to get at least crits, and it does actually work out a little bit better in terms of hits. 2 black dice is actually the same as 6 white dice in terms of just hits, but meh. We're nitpicking there. I still think that's a pretty, it's very cost effective. You get, how many dice do you get in that? You get 11 dice per turn, and you don't need to, you can do that every single turn, 11 dice. Pretty good. Now, you could take targeting scopes because you've got the 11 dice. That's not a problem. I just don't think you want to spend all your money on your trooper units at the moment. If you do, if it turns out that you need to deck them up, then if you're taking the Z6 Trooper, then you can pretty much take grappling hooks or targeting scopes. You might get use out of both, but I think I would take targeting scopes in that case. It's still cheap enough that I'd say it's okay for objective control. Now, there are no special rules on this build, so you don't have any impact, you don't have blast, you don't have ion tokens, you don't have anything like that. And in actual fact, aim's pretty useful instead of dodge, but I think that one's okay. Now, I think we might be getting onto my personnel favourite, which is basically the same build, but add a grenade. Throw in a little grenade in there. Grenades are a little bit weird. Grenades are obviously range 1, and it depends what you're going to be doing with your unit. But I keep always talking about objectives. In some games, you can just kill your opponents and be done. But the reason like the grenades are good for objectives as well is if you take blast, then it's good against cover. So you can literally just like move into the objective. Any trooper that's in your way, you're trying to blast them out of cover. Now they can be doing the same to you, but you can also be, trying to get into cover and trying to stay away from any blast they have. The grenades just allow you to have a little bit of versatility. It's a decent all-rounder, but you are, depending on which one you take, you're weak possibly to the other. So if you take the blast one and you're getting in close combat, that's great. But what happens if a vehicle comes near you? Well, you don't have anything there to get rid of it. Obviously, if you take impact, that's great. If a vehicle tries to flank you and get near you, you can impact them, boom. But if you're trying to take an objective and there's a unit in cover there, you're a little bit weak to that. So I would possibly take this unit and have alternating grenade in the army. And just try and pick and choose where you want them, like have the impact ones on the flank, have the concussion grenades one in the middle, and just play them like that. At 77 points for this unit though, I think it's pretty cheap and pretty, it's still cost effective for me. I just really think it will be quite productive. Now, there is the risk of you just adding on cost, we've added on the Z6 trooper, we're adding on a grenade, but I think that's probably worth it at the minute. Whereas if you compare that to, say, other options available for either the Stormtroopers or even the Rebel Troopers, some of the points, I just feel like, is it better to have a different kind of unit to deal with that? And that actually is related to, say, my next build here, which does include the MPL 57. Now, if you are trying to get rid of a vehicle, I think there's other ways of possibly doing it. Maybe like Luke Skywalker would be one for the Rebels. Even an AT-RT with the Assault Blast. There's one that's got like Impact 3. Can't necessarily remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I feel like that's a more interesting way of dealing with vehicles. Now, this sort of reminds me, I did one for the Stormtroopers where it was like a cover buster. And what I used that for was very like maneuverable unit. Try and like get into, use grappling hooks to get over cover, sneak into place, and blow somebody out of an objective. And the true red dice is actually pretty okay. The main problem with the MPL 57 Ion Trooper is that it is exhausted. Impact 1, it's all right. 2 red dice, you're likely to get a hit, so you're likely to get use out of Impact 1. Ion 1 is probably what makes that card a little bit more useful. You can really limit a vehicle to like one action, probably almost guaranteed, let's say. And that's interesting, like the fact that you can do that. But I just don't think it makes the MPL 57 Trooper worth it. It's 32 points. And when you compare that to the other one, which I believe, I'm just going to wipe that over, is 22 points, the Z6. It's like extra 10 points. It's exhausted and it's expensive. However, the reason I added on the concussion grenade to this and the grappling hooks is this is a unit that would literally let you do almost everything. It's good against vehicles. It's okay against vehicles because you've got the Ion Trooper. The grappling hooks and the concussion grenades lets you get anywhere and everywhere. The fact that you necessarily don't know what objective game you're playing makes this one at least, I'm not going to say a possibility because I personally still wouldn't do it, but I think it might have a use as maybe you would take one of these just to be open to like to be versatile, to be able to react to the battlefield and that. If you have a lot of terrain, the grappling hooks are worth it. If your enemy's got a really important turn that they're trying to like flank you with a vehicle and you can see it coming, maybe the Ion Trooper's going to disable that. Concussion grenades, if you get somebody on an objective, you can blow them out of that cover. It's not, I don't think it's terrible. I just don't think it's necessarily the most cost-effective unit. Whereas like just running them, say like 5 really cheap, you could have like 6 of these for 300 points. I mean, I feel like that might actually be okay. Like I think trooper spam may be okay. It depends on how likely you are to get the objectives you want, the game types that you want. If you're pretty confident that you're going to be able to use them, in the little mini game. Those of you who don't know, there's a little sort of mini game at the start of the game. There's 4 objective cards, 4 condition cards, and 4 deployment cards. So, and you draw 3 of each randomly, and then you have like a little mini game where you remove the one that's farthest left, and you alternate, removing up to 4 cards. So you can sort of influence the kind of game you're getting. Maybe you want to influence it so that your rebel spam's going to be the best, like the one where you have to get to your opponent's side of the deployment, where you have to get to your opponent's deployment area. That, and you need infantry troopers, or you need leaders, but you know, these would give you cheap leaders at least. You could take 6 of these and try and work towards that. I'm just saying, there's like, they're cheap, but I feel like with Nimble, it makes them very survivable. And those black dice, I like the black dice. I'd still rather have red defense dice, but you know, you can't have everything you want. The Z6 Trooper itself, I feel like is pretty damn cost effective. So just having that, adding that, yeah, it adds in the cost and everything, but the fact that you can sort of fish for crits on a vehicle, still possibly okay. Yeah, all right. This one, I feel like it's the true all-rounder depending on your grenades. I'd personally look at taking this and alternating the grenades, as I said. Pretty decent. And finally, the MPL 57 Ion Trooper. You could, if you wanted, just take that and the Rebel Trooper and stay at the back trying to disable vehicles, but meh, I personally wouldn't do that. But yeah, I'm sure there's probably going to be more little niche things you can do with like each unit, but for me, those are like just some possible basic options. You can take targeting scopes if you're taking the ZL Trooper. Yeah, you've got 6 dice that you can possibly reroll up to 3 of. That's all right, but then you're not getting your nimble, so I personally wouldn't. Grappling hooks, 3 points. If you're taking a unit of 6 and you think the terrain's going to be fairly important, that's all right as well. You can get some value out of that. But I definitely feel like grenades are very useful. For those of you who also don't know, the keywords of a grenade stack. So let's say you've got 5 troopers and they're all throwing an impact grenade. Technically, they all have impact. They all add the impact 1. So you'd have 5 dice with impact 5. So any hits basically would turn into crits on a vehicle. Pretty damn sick. I really don't know what that was. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on this. Let me know yours. If you did like this video, do like, subscribe, all that kind of jazz. I was going to say like his previous videos and stuff like that, but I never normally do that. Have a most beautiful day, guys, and goodbye. Bye, guys.